Welcome to this Sahara 4 exercise. In this exercise, we will import lines into our Sahara project. We call lines to a series of points given their x and y coordinates that are going to be connected by segments. Each line can have more than one segment, and consequently we need to identify the segments by the order in which they were drawn. So any line will have three minimum data points that will be the x coordinate, the y coordinate of the different points, and the segment number or the segment ID that will identify in which order these x and y points have been connected. Some lines can also be associated to layer or formation. So that is a fourth point of entry that we need to have in consideration, to have in mind. That will be the layer to which the line is associated. For example, if we import faults, the logical thing will be to import a different group of lines, a group of faults for each different layer or for each different formation. So that also has to be considered as well. And now to start, we will go to our Sahara project. Something important to consider as well is that we can import several formats. Like Sahara will recognize several standard line formats from the main mapping applications. Also, you can import your lines with three columns. That will be the x, y, and t. So those are the three minimum points that we have discussed previously. So when we import lines, SAR is always going to try to recognize the information presented, and in the case that the information has been correctly recognized, it will draw the map with the different objects and the position of the lines that we want to import in them. Something relevant to consider as well is that we can create new variables associated to lines. Here, if we go to variables and we look for the groups, we have a line group. Here we will have all the different group of lines that are created by default in a Sahara project. We have faults, we have borders, we have polygons, water oil contact, we can draw it as a line as well, gas oil contact, miscellaneous, where we can include other things that we may want to include as lines, but we can also create a new variable here and give it a name of the type of line that will be imported, a short name. This is always going to be data, and we can also create keywords for this new variable. So that just to have us in consideration that new line variables can be created in a project. So now we will proceed with the importation of the lines that we have associated to this project. We will go to project, import. Here we should have a line menu. Logs, map and lines. Here, map and lines. And here we will import layer lines. The difference between layer lines and generic lines, we will see them in further detail later in another exercise, but the generic lines are not associated to any layer, so they are not really, they belong to the project, they can be drawn in any layer, they can be loaded from generic polygons in another menu that we will see later. But the important thing about the layer lines is that they are associated to a level of the project. So it can be either they can be even associated to the field level, to the whole field. They can be associated to formations, or they can be associated to layers. That's the main difference between a generic line and a layer line. In this case, we will work only with layer lines. So now we will go to here lines, and we will import first our faults. And here, as we did with the last logs, with the logs, we can select all the files together, so we don't have to do it each one by one, and open. And here we can see that the format has been recognized because we now see the position of the lines in the project, how they look in the total square that is our project, how the different lines look at the different layers. And here we can see that as we move downwards in the line structure, in the layer structure, the lines start moving as well. So we will have this small change in position as we move downwards, which is typical fault behavior. Now here for the importation, let's go to the first layer. or in this case the first fault file. And here, as we can see, Sahara, in the same vein as keywords, Sahara will recognize the name of the file if if it can associate it to the name of the layer. Here you can see that in the case of all the different fault files of the line files, all of them have the same name of the layer that I have in my project, so the names have been associated automatically. But this might not be the case if you have a different name here, so it's always recommended to have the same name in your exportation file in the mapping software that you may use. It's always a good idea to have the name of the layer without any modification in the name of the file that you will import in Sahara. So here we will do a quick verification. We will review here that we have formation layer to select. In this case is the layer number 1, so that's okay. We need to define if the variable is okay with the one that we need to import. In this case is false, which is correct. We want to import the faults of the project. Then the decimal separator, as you can see, is okay, is point. Group separator we have none, and the coordinates are in meter, which is correct for this file in particular. So now we have the options. Okay, we will review. We can review this going fault by fault or file by file. Will be more correct. Checking that we have the right name in the formation layer box here. So everything is okay, and we will import these lines. And now the lines have been imported. We have a report here, a typical importation report. We will check that everything is fine, and it is, so we will consider this importation done. Then we will import now the borders as well. Import map and lines, layer lines, and here lines, borders, and here we have all the files. And now we can see that in the same way that we had drawn the lines of the associated to the faults in the previous importation, we are not going to have the borders of the layers drawn here. And we can see the relative position compared to the coordinates, the total coordinates of the project, the total extension of the project. So the file names are okay, and they are being correctly assigned to the formation that we want to import them in. So everything looks okay. Verify the variable is borders, that's fine. Decimal separator point, here none, and the coordinates are in meters for this file. So now we will import it. Something important to consider as well is that when we import lines that are associated to layers, if for any reason a layer doesn't have any information associated to it, for some reason we haven't imported the lines, or we haven't imported the faults or the borders for that specific layer, Sahara is going to look for the information at the formation level. Then if the formation to which the layer is associated here in the structure, remember that always to have in mind the structure of your Sahara project. If, for example, let's say this the layer number 7 doesn't have its lines imported, doesn't have the border, doesn't have the faults imported, by default Sahara is going to look into the magenta formation and is going to display the lines that are associated, in this case let's say borders or faults, associated to the magenta formation. If the magenta formation doesn't have any information in it, it's going to default at the field level, and we can import lines on the field level. That's okay, you can do it. In this case it's going to be the default lines that are going to be displayed if we don't have any information in the layer nor in the formation. So that will be everything for this tutorial. In the next tutorial we will plot these lines in the map.